Hello, my loves. Welcome to the Power Network. I'm Amy. Today, we're breaking down the case of Sarah Grace Patrick, the 17-year-old accused of killing her mom and her stepdad in Georgia. But here's the real question. Is Sarah a Gypsy Rose copycat? Or could she have been framed? And even bigger, is Gypsy Rose Blanchard's story actually influencing our youth? Or are we looking at a cover up in this case? We're going to dig into this copycat angle, the family dynamics, and why Sarah reached out to influencers after the murders. Stick around. I'm rolling credits while the rest of the Power crew drifts in. Shout out to my dragonflies. I love you.
Carefully strumming his old guitar again. Words rolling out into our fire. If heaven had wings out to you then, and fly away with you for a while. Hearing the essence of gratitude, your dreamy little smile on my lips. I miss my cue, but baby, I had you. Miss my cue, but I had you for that day.
Here in the essence of gratitude, it's Monday again, and we're coming to you live. Today, we are going over to the Gyp verse, kind of, in a roundabout way. We have been talking a lot about Gypsy Rose Blanchard in our community tab section. I have been putting over content over on our blog, the Cafe Bazaar, on Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and kind of talking about the misinformation that's out there, the misinformation about Dee Dee and the Munchausen syndrome by proxy and how that's all trumped up. And so I thought this would be perfect to go into because yesterday we were talking about matricide, patricide, and all the sides that are happening due to Gypsy Rose. And today I woke up and I saw Nina, the beauty influencer, talking about this case, but she had a twist on it. She was saying that, is she being framed? And I thought, so it could either be a copycat situation or she's being framed. So I thought we could look into this and introduce this case and see what's what. Running around getting ready for all of this. I have been with the change of seasons, and this morning I woke up and I don't know, they're saying Florida has this false fall happening, and I kind of believe it because it's cold, but I woke up and I had bought this pumpkin spice coffee and I thought, today's the day we're gonna have pumpkin spice everything. And so we did that. And with the season shifts, I love fall, but the season shifts equal sweat shifts for me. Cold, hot, cold, hot. The back and forth is just endless. And honestly, it's a lot for me. But luckily, I have Wild deodorant. With the season changing, the layers go on, the layers go off, and that makes sweating even more prevalent for me. That's why I'm sticking with Wild deodorant. It's refillable, aluminum free, and actually works through those temperature swings. You can grab yours at shopwildrefill.com/parawomen. And if you use code parawomen, you'll get a 20% off your first order. A huge thank you to Wild for supporting us and our causes here over on the Power Network. And you know what, you guys, if you support us, a huge thank you to you as well. Okay. Let me say hi to people. I see Kim. Hi, Kim. It's been fun talking to you over on we've been talking over on Facebook. I've been talking to a few people over on the socials lately, and I've been having a lot of fun. I can't really talk to you over on YouTube yet in this way, so I am enjoying. You can reach me over on Facebook. I have people talking to me right now on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, but I'm on all the socials. If you message me, I'll eventually get it and reply to you. And if you have a case that you're interested in, or, I don't know, I'm just enjoying getting to know you guys better and knowing what you like. And you can also email me. I've got my email scrolling across the bottom of the screen. It's pairwomanradio@gmail.com. And I see a Farah in here, and they say, I'm going to go with Copycat. Well, I don't know what I'm going to go with yet because I am just introducing the case. I've got it ready to go. And so let's get right into it and we can maybe figure out this together. Okay. So getting back to Gypsy Rose first, I do want to show you that we have been talking about Gypsy Rose and her shenanigans on the case. Let me see, make sure you can see. Okay, you can see. Okay, so you can see that I typed in the Google taskbar, will matricide be on the rise thanks to Gypsy Rose Blanchard? And I thought it was so interesting because what was coming up was these articles, and they're all under, different, they're at different websites, but they're the same article over and over again. So this tells me that Gypsy Rose Blanchard team is making it so that when you Google these types of things, what pops up is something very similar to this, where it'll be like Gypsy Rose Blanchard. It's her narrative. It's her getting her narrative out. It makes it seem like they're going into like a deep dive of her, but it's just her narrative over and over again. So this is just more things. Article after article. So Gypsy Rose, whatever PR team she had, really dug into using AI and just putting, just creating these, on these blogger forums or these just quick site after site, just the same thing. So we have over on our Cafe Bazaar page, we have been talking about the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case and putting up our own articles. Like on Monday, August 18th, we put up Dee Dee Blanchard, the mom who made Munchausen by proxy famous, but what you don't know about Gypsy Rose. And we go into the article and we talk about she didn't have Gypsy Rose. If only she didn't have Gypsy Rose. She didn't have Munchausen syndrome by proxy. It was trumped up by Gypsy Rose. And we go into all of that and we talk about the true Gypsy Rose and who she really is. And then the other day on August 24th, we go into the Queen of Matricides and we show how she is starting to influence youth. And the case that we covered first was Carly Gregg. But then we went into, during that case, we talked about the terms patricide, matricide, what they mean. Are they on the rise? And I talked to AI just before I came on. I went on Chat GBT and, I told them what we would be talking about. And I asked, is matricide and patricide on the rise? And this is what we got. Well, first I asked, give me some of the cases since Gypsy Rose Blanchard committed hers. And we got 2015, Ashley Ann Rose Madison. She's 17. She unalived her mother and stepfather in Wisconsin. Jeffrey Collin, he's 17, and he unalived his mother in Utah in 2020. There's an unnamed 15-year-old in Washington State in 2024. The only survivor was an 11-year-old sister. They unalived their parents. There's another 14-year-old in Florida in 2025, arrested for fatally shooting his parents in Northeast Florida. He called 911 from a nearby church to confess. We've got CJ Haney in 2020, age 16. The victims was his mother and 3 siblings. We've got Carly Gregg, age 14, Mississippi, 2023. Fatally shot her mother and did shoot the stepfather, but not fatally. Sarah Grace, she's our latest. She's 17. The victims are her mother and stepfather. The overlap, instead of hiding, she begged true crime influencer on TikTok and YouTube to cover her case. It's going to be a big hit, she said. The copycat angle is that this is the purest Gypsy echo yet. Not only the mother's death, but the media performance afterward is very alarming. Exactly the script pioneered by Gypsy Rose. Carly Gregg, her copycat angle was post-TikTok Gypsy wave, a teen girl turning matricide into a spectacle, echoing Gypsy's blend of violence and audience. We covered Carly. So today we're going to look at Sarah and see what's up with Sarah. Because this angle, it's very, very alarming. Before Gypsy Parasite existed, but usually it was framed as family violence or a troubled teen. After Gypsy, there's a new script out there. A new script has emerged. It's a toxic mom or parent, a liberated child, crime as content. There's cultural markers, there's blogs, there's dramatizations, The Act, TikTok, glamorizing Gypsy Rose's own account. Sarah Patrick, she was a TikToker. That's what she was known as. And it seems like the trajectory, every few years, another teen plunges into the Gypsy framework, not just killing, but story making. They're wanting to make stories out of this. Hi, Juicy TV. She's spiraling and it's awesome. See, I'm just dipping my toes into this. I woke up to Nina, the beauty influencer, talking about it, and she seems to think that maybe there's an alt angle. So that's what kind of got me interested. Are they framing her? So you think that she's spiraling, or do you oh, you're talking about Gypsy Rose is spiraling? Yeah, she's spiraling. I'm enjoying her spiral. I'm in Tennessee and I've noticed the season's already changing here too. It's early. Yeah, it's really early. It's gotten like, it's Florida. It's really, I'm wearing long sleeves. It's weird. But I do like pumpkin spice stuff. So yeah, Mother Nature is going through something. So let me get my screen together and we're going to dive into this case. This is my first time really getting into it. Okay. So as I said, this is Nina, the beauty influencer, and how we handle things here, you guys. We will look at a lot of things today. I will stop and start. I'll talk over it. I won't read everything in its entirety, but what I will do is put everything in the YouTube show notes. And I do this to cite our sources and for fair play use. Today, we're coming to you on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So hi, everyone. If you could just start that algorithm dance party that I like, just start warming up your fingers and dancing them right up to the hearts and thumbs up button. Leave some of that DNA so we can dance out into the algorithm party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help me out, and it's really, really appreciated.
Being my daughter.
Where's the tears?
Because, yeah, my name is Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and I am a convicted murderer. Yep. And I did the time. I did the crime, did the time. Did my...
It really brings out the, like, the Gen X in me, the Gen Xer that just wants to, like, I know this isn't allowed and this isn't acceptable, but you know, back in the day, you did use your hands to solve things, and she just makes me want to cock my fist back and just use it that way. But you know, I suck it back in, and I, you know, obviously don't do that. But she just brings out violent thoughts in me.
Time on parole, case is closed. I owe nobody else anything. I don't owe anybody a fucking thing.
Gypsy Rose really got on live today like she was dropping a mixtape. She said, I did the crime and I did the time. Did my time on parole. Case closed. Girl, that's not bars. That's literally your parole officer's notes. So she's out here saying she don't owe nobody anything. Meanwhile, she owes the world an apology for trying to rebrand convicted murderer as a personality trait. Like, babe, this isn't TED Talk. It's probation karaoke. And the funniest part about this all is she keeps saying case closed. Babe, the only thing closed is Spirit Halloween after October 31st. Because every day since you got out, you've been cosplaying victim, influencer, and a motivational speaker all in one.
She's got those good zingers. Okay, let's move it forward. She does talk about Gypsy Rose, and then she goes into the Menendez brothers, but then she goes into Sarah.
Let's talk about motive, because a lot of y'all are watching these true crime cases, and you're forgetting one crucial thing. Motive is not optional. It's foundational. Motive is why. It's the reason why someone committed a crime.
Okay. And also, I do want to stop it right here and backtrack for just 1 second, because I do realize I didn't tell you what the crime is about Sarah. So here's what happened so far on the Sarah case. Let me just back it up just a little bit before we bring the Nina on. And this is what's happening so far in the Sarah case. So in February of 2025, Kristen Brock, 41, and James Brock, 45, were found shot to death in their Carroll County, Georgia home. The couple was discovered by Sarah's younger sister. Sarah then called 911 to report the scene. After the killing, Sarah posted grieving messages and videos on social media, including TikTok, where she also reached out to true crime influencer offering intel and suggesting the case should be a really big hit. She turned herself into the police in July 2025. Investigators cited mountains of physical and digital evidence, and she's being tried as an adult. The motive behind the killings has not been revealed yet. So that's what's happening so far. She was charged with 2 counts each of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. The arraignment and trial is scheduled. Her arraignment is set for September 22nd, 2025. And if all proceeds as planned, her trial could begin on January 5th, 2026. She was denied bond and at an emotional court hearing. The person, her stepfather's sister, has come out and begged the judge not to give her bond. She didn't get bond. And this is not this is just her aunt by marriage, so it's not like related. It's the stepfather's sister has been begging that she be denied, and she was. Now, her father has come out and was, sticking up for her, saying she would never do this, but for whatever reason, her family wasn't at the bond hearing. So now let's get into it.
And in most trials, especially circumstantial ones, if there's no motive, the prosecution is already on extremely shaky.
Oh, I don't know what's going on with the hair. The whole haircut with Gypsy Rose is so strange. It's very strange. I think she suffers from that condition where you pull out your hair. I think she suffers from that. And this one, the condition where someone pulls out their hair is called trichopneumonia, or hair pulling disorder, is characterized by a persistent urge to pull out one's hair, leading to notable hair loss. And I'm starting to feel like maybe that's why Dee Dee, hold on, I keep coughing. Hold on a second. I'm so sorry, you guys. Excuse me. I think that's why Dee Dee was shaving her hair. I think she was starting to do that kind of stuff, and Dee Dee was at her wit's end. But, you know, this is all my opinion. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. We urge you to go out there and do your own research on all of this. So getting back to Sarah, she is saying that they have this whole mountain of evidence. They're saying they have this whole mountain of evidence, but we've not seen any of it, and they're keeping her hidden.
Ground. Imagine taking your car to the mechanic and they say something's wrong. We don't know what, and we can't tell you, but here's a $10,000 bill. Wouldn't you just laugh them right out the shop? That's exactly what's happening with the Sarah Grace Patrick case. They're telling us she committed murder. There's no weapon, no confession, no clear motive, and yet somehow this case is moving forward like it makes perfect sense. It's like someone charging for a repair without even popping the hood. No inspection, no diagnosis, just vibes and an invoice. In the justice system, that's not just sloppy. That should be terrifying to every one of us. Her stepdad, a convicted felon, her mom, also a criminal, with a prison record. Okay, now her mother publicly posted on Facebook about being scared of him. And her brother said he thought it was a drug-related death when he heard. The house, the door was ajar. So why is the only person being blamed the one person who has no power to defend themselves? Why is Sarah in confinement and cut off from the outside? Why? Why are investigators isolating her instead of asking her the bigger questions? Why are the people with the motive, the history, and the suspicious behavior not even on radar? And who's actually pointing the finger at Sarah? Who's standing to benefit from her silence? Let's be real. It's giving scapegoat. It's giving keep the mess quiet and pin it on the easiest target. This whole thing smells like a cover-up wrapped in courtroom packaging. And if we allow this to happen, if we let a woman get locked up with no motive, no weapon, and no voice, we are setting a very dangerous precedent. Because if
it's very dangerous. I don't like these kind of things. If you know me, when I don't rejoice when channels get taken down off of YouTube, because I am a huge believer in free speech. And if they get taken down, what do I think I'm behind it? If we start just putting people behind bars because we've got a notion and then not giving any evidence, it's the same thing that happened with the Delphi case, where they just shipped him right off to prison before he even was charged. He was held in a prison, locked away. It's scary, you guys.
Justice system doesn't need evidence anymore. Who's next? If you wouldn't pay a mechanic without proof, why are we letting the system charge Sarah with no motive? We are allowing them to actually give her a bill of her life with no motive. Would you pay that car bill with no reason why your car wasn't working?
Hey, everybody. I know I've been...
You're going to speak on the law enforcement affiliation that you have within a neighboring county? Are we going to talk about...
Okay, she's going into the sister of this unalived man is married to a law enforcement person in another county. So they're believing that this man was abusive and they're trying to get ahead of the situation.
Your brother's drug history and his gang affiliation in prison. Are we going to speak about any of those types of things? And it's funny that your family really hasn't seen your brother recently or in like recent years, and like all of a sudden you guys are like doing this. Like, are we going to speak about any of the actual truth, like the optics around it, the fact that like they were on drugs? Like the problem is like everything's being hidden, and there's something that you and your family know that you don't want exposed, which is why she's locked up and you guys don't want her having any conversations with anyone. Are we going to address that? Because the fact that you even hold your camera the way you do, I know you can't be trusted. But are we going to speak about on any of those actual things? Are we going to speak on the truth, or are we going to just come on here, and just try to get the bag? And the fact that you would do this to a minor, knowing that you know more.
And I feel like getting the bag has become the thing that everybody's going after. They don't even care about humans anymore. If they can step over you to get to their money, they'll do it. And they'll take you down if it'll give them views. And it's just, the world's gotten really scary. It's gotten really scary.
What you're doing is crooked is wild to me. Of course, this is all alleged.
Of course.
Oh, yeah. Are we going to talk about the police reports and the police going to the house? Are we going to talk about Tristan slapping his dad? Are we going to talk about any of those things? Is the truth going to come out? Are you going to speak the truth? Allegedly? Oh, yeah. And the church offering going missing because of habits, allegedly. Are we going to speak on any of that? Because the optics surrounding this and what y'all are doing on the internet is ironic when what? One thing I don't like is dishonesty. And I'm all about exposing the truth. The truth will come out in this case. And when the public realize what really happened, whatever it is, and I'm pretty sure your family knows the truth, because the optics surrounding this and the facts behind it is giving cover up. Yeah.
Okay. So Nina is very, very sus on it. So, but now let's back it up. And I went over to the mainstream media to see if they have picked up on the sus yet. And I don't see any of it, but we're going to look at what the mainstream media is talking about the case. We're going to see this aunt and who the victims were. So it looks like Court TV is starting to cover it. Cody on the case is starting to talk about it.
We're out here now in small town Carrollton, Georgia, where the home where these crimes occurred took place. Now, if you look down this street, this is Tyus Carrollton Road out here. You see it's not that busy of a street, but it is kind of a main freeway. Now, what you don't see on this street, you see these wooden poles, but what you don't see are security cameras on these poles, which leads us back to that question. If Sarah Grace Patrick, the teenager who lived in this home, did not commit these murders, then who did? And if they did, they would have had to have some kind of getaway plan down this street. And if they did, no cameras would have picked them up, unless you see the neighbor's house. There's one here over my shoulder. There's a neighbor right here across the street. There's a neighbor across over there on those acres of land. Unless they had some sort of Ring doorbell footage, some Ring camera surveillance, or any kind of home security surveillance, that is the only footage that would have picked up anyone leaving that February night. Now, back to the neighbors. They're sitting here. You see, this is not your traditional neighborhood. These houses are spread apart. They're across the street. They're acres apart. We do know multiple shots were shot in the house that night. Who could have heard those shots? And they were shot around 1:30, 1:40 in the morning. So if these neighbors were in a deep sleep, they may not have heard those shots, unless, again, they have Ring camera footage that could have picked up the sound of those gunshots in this house where the crimes occurred. But again, this is out here in Carrollton, Georgia, where everything went down. Sarah Grace Patrick now facing double murder charges in those two shootings.
So it does look like this reporter is starting to go in and investigate that if she didn't do it, that there has to be some kind of footage. So we'll continue to follow this person. Here is a new, and The channels that we watch, some of them I've never, this is a new channel for me, so I can't recommend it or not recommend it, but so far everything looks good with this channel. I will put the link down in the show notes. This is the Sarah Grace Patrick case, a shocking murder and a viral eulogy.
A tearful teenage girl, and a double murder that's torn a Georgia town and the internet in two. Was it grief or guilt? A 17-year-old girl calls 911 in the early hours of a February morning. Her mother and stepfather are dead, shot in their bed. Weeks later, she stands in front of their caskets, tearfully delivering a eulogy streamed to thousands online. And just months after that, she's in handcuffs, charged with their murder. This is the story of Sarah Grace Patrick, a Georgia teen whose family life, digital trail, and public grief have drawn the attention of police, the press, and millions on social media. Was she a grieving daughter? Or was it all part of a premeditated cover-up? 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick lived in Carroll County, Georgia, with her mother, Kristen Brock, and her stepfather, James Brock. The couple, both in their early 40s, were active members of Catalyst Church in Carrollton and were known to friends and neighbors as caring parents raising multiple children, including Sarah and her 6-year-old half-sister. Despite Sarah having lived with her biological father, Daniel Patrick, for a period of time following her parents' divorce, he insists that her relationship with her mother and stepfather was a positive one. According to Daniel, Sarah loved them with all her heart. He claims that Sarah was just a typical teenager and that there were no problems in the home at all.
I wouldn't say there was any kind of problem in the house. I think that she was just a normal teenager growing up, and when she didn't get her way, she called me, and when she didn't get her way with me, she called them. It's just typical teenager. There wasn't many problems in the house. I mean, other than sometimes, their punishments, was different than my punishments. But other than that, no, there was actually no problems in the home that I knew of.
He described
Seems like the whole family likes that camera angle. But anyway, the dad came out and defended the daughter in the beginning, as you can see.
her as a well-behaved and responsible young woman with whom he shared an open relationship. This narrative, however, is complicated by other accounts. Some family members and friends described a fraught relationship, with Sarah feeling trapped at home. Others, including members of their church, described the home as stable and loving, further complicating the picture and creating a deep divide between those who defend Sarah and those who believe she is guilty. In the early morning hours of February 20th, 2025, a chilling 911 call was made from the Brock household. It was Sarah Grace Patrick, her voice trembling, reporting the unthinkable. 2 people shot inside her home. Patrol cars converged on the quiet suburban street. What officers discovered inside the Brock residence was a scene of both familiar horror and unsettling mystery. Kristen and James Brock lay dead in their bed, both victims of gunshot wounds. Investigators immediately noted no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no kicked-in doors, and nothing appeared to have been stolen. Yet one of the house doors stood slightly ajar, an anomaly in an otherwise undisturbed home. Crucially, no murder weapon was found at the scene, raising immediate questions about its whereabouts and who might have removed it. The undisturbed nature of the home, coupled with the open door and missing weapon, immediately piqued their suspicion. The killer was likely not a stranger, but someone known to the victims, perhaps even residing in the house.
Possibly, if he was in a gang, though, they would have access to inside the house. So there's that, too. And both parents have had run-ins with the law. So...
As officers processed the scene, a subtle, rhythmic beeping sound drew their attention. It was James Brock's LVAD, an implanted heart assist device, now signaling that his heart had stopped. Sarah later told police she had heard a similar beeping during the night but had dismissed it, assuming it was nothing important. But perhaps the most unsettling detail emerged. It wasn't Sarah who found her parents' bodies. It was her 6-year-old half-sister. This small, innocent detail cast a long, perplexing shadow over Sarah's account, raising immediate and profound questions for the investigators who now stood in the grim aftermath. And that shadow? It would only grow deeper, especially when Sarah took the spotlight at her parents' funeral. Just over 2 weeks after the horrifying murders, the community gathered at Catalyst Church for the funeral of Kristen and James Brock. The solemn service, however, became an unexpected focal point of the unfolding mystery. Their 17-year-old daughter, Sarah Grace Patrick, stepped up to the podium to deliver a eulogy that would not only be heard by those in the church, but was streamed live online, and quickly shared across social media platforms.
This is one of the red flags, I think, that went up to the world, like one of the first red flags.
Drawing millions of viewers into her raw public grief. Dressed in a pale blue dress, Sarah appeared visibly strained and tearful. Her voice wavered as she thanked her mother for small, everyday moments, like brushing her hair every morning, and affectionately called her imperfect, but mine.
I just wanted to say goodbye to my mom and Jamie since we never got the chance to. I was so used to you guys always being here to the point that I never once thought to imagine y'all not being here. I didn't have a single clue how much I needed y'all until now. For James, thank you for all the life lessons you taught me and for being the best, honest dad ever. Your heart will finally be healed in heaven and neither of y'all will be in any pain anymore. Although that gives me so much comfort, your fight was not supposed to end there. And for my mother, everything we went through does not define what kind of person or what kind of mother you were. You were a beautiful, kind soul with so much gratitude and so gosh dang strong. And you taught me so many life lessons, and some you just recently taught me losing the life you sent to James in 2018.
However, to many family members, and more significantly, to the law enforcement officials closely watching, something about the speech simply didn't sit right. They observed a perplexing emotional control beneath the surface of her tears, noting how rehearsed her tone seemed, almost like a performance.
Yeah, it sounded like a fake cry, like when you were trying, a fake cry, when young girls are trying to fake cry.
Sarah quietly ended her speech by saying, "I'm sorry." For some, this brief, enigmatic utterance was immediately interpreted as a veiled confession, a slip of the tongue under immense pressure. Her cousin, Kristen Dowda, a vocal critic of Sarah since the funeral, later spoke out publicly, claiming Sarah had fake cried through the entire
It's important to note that this cousin is not related by blood to her. This is the aunt that's not related to her daughter.
Eulogy, suggesting her grief was an act.
I was front row at this funeral where I watched her do this with my own two eyes and not a single tear was shed. And this isn't something that I thought about afterwards. This isn't something that I've gone back to the video and looked for. I was thinking it at the time. I was thinking, what is this voice that she is doing that sounds like crying, but a tear is never shed? And you can see on the video, she doesn't wipe a tear. She does not have a tissue. She does not shed a tear. Her eyes are not red. It's not speculation that she was not crying. She absolutely was not crying.
Yet others within the church and wider community vehemently disagreed. They contended that Sarah's grief was undeniably genuine, arguing that any perceived awkwardness or emotional restraint was simply a natural manifestation of extreme trauma, shock, and the immense stress of losing both parents so suddenly and violently. They pointed to the unbearable weight of grieving in such a public, scrutinized spotlight. Still, for investigators who had already begun to eye Sarah as a person of interest following the puzzling crime scene, the viral eulogy added a significant, unsettling layer to their growing suspicions. It transformed her from a potential victim into a central
So this was the first red flag for people. And then the next red flag was that she started contacting online content creators. And she also started doing TikTok videos where she wouldn't talk, but she would put music over it and then just put some words up on the screen.
Plea for fame, or maybe for justice. Sarah had allegedly contacted multiple true crime bloggers, urging them to look into her parents' deaths. In one case, she told an influencer that their coverage would blow up and that the story would be a really big hit. Screenshots later shared by content creator allegedly reportedly revealed messages from someone claiming to be Sarah as early as May, months before her arrest. Another prominent content creator known as Mama Tot also reported receiving a message from Sarah Grace pleading, "Mama Tot, I need a mama bad right now. I'm going through it." These messages, framing herself as a desperate victim seeking justice, were paired with even more damning evidence. Deleted Google searches reportedly found on her phone and computer. Though the exact search terms remain under wraps, investigators have strongly hinted they included violent keywords, weapon-related terms, and inquiries about how to destroy or hide evidence. For law enforcement, these digital footprints painted a starkly different picture than the grieving daughter seen at the funeral. They suggested a calculated and manipulative individual, using the very platforms meant for connection and empathy to potentially orchestrate a narrative, divert suspicion, or even revel in the morbid attention surrounding her parents' deaths.
So we're going to move on and we're going to go over to Court TV, and knowing what we know now about what we just saw, we're going to look at what does Sarah Patrick's behavior suggest. This is Parawoman Radio, and I'm Amy. Be sure to give this live a thumbs up, and if you like my content, if you could share it to your favorite platform, that would help us out tremendously, and it's so appreciated.
Sarah Patrick, just 16 years old when the unthinkable occurred, now stands at the center of a chilling mystery. On a February morning, her 5-year-old sister discovered the bodies of Kristen and James Brock, both shot in their bed. Sarah placed the 911 call and publicly mourned online, posting tearful TikToks and delivering a haunting eulogy that ended with the words, "I'm sorry." But investigators say a mountain of physical and digital evidence paints a darker picture.
Okay, so now investigators are saying that there's a mountain of evidence. Let's see if we're going to see that evidence.
Sarah is charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault and will be tried as an adult. Her social media activity, including outreach to true crime TikTok influencers, suggesting sensational attention to the case, has deepened suspicions. With no motive yet revealed, the community reels and the tragedy leaves the haunting question: who was this girl behind the eulogy?
How are they going forward with all of this if there's not even a motive? That is interesting to me. I guess, does that happen where they just, as they're building their case, they're just looking for the motive?
This story, she's 16 years old. She's at home, mom, stepdad, her parents, sleeping in her bed, and her little sister. And the parents are shot and killed. Middle of the night. That's what the story is, and are found by the little sister. And it's Sarah Patrick who calls 911. Now, a big part of this story is what has transpired in social media, and it's really because of what the defendant, Sarah Patrick, has done on social media. She had a presence before any of this happened, but then afterwards, she started posting things, and a lot of people were noticing them and talking about them. Let's take a look at some of those post-murder postings that were done. This was one of her. Please send prayers for healing, for a break from everything. I'm so tired. I should probably delete it later. And you can see her crying there. She doesn't talk in any of these. There's music. Sometimes she mouths along, and sometimes it's just a picture of her. Here she writes, "Life's hard, but at least I have my mom." The next one, "It hasn't hit yet that they're actually gone yet." And think about this, if someone is posting this stuff, it's gonna garner a reaction. You're gonna feel bad for this young girl. She's lost her parents. What's going on? You were in the house. How did this horror take place? Let's take a look at the next one. "I know how it feels to have people saying the worst lies about you at your worst." So now she's reacting to the reactions to her as well. So there seems to be, she's really tied into what is happening on social media, not just posting, but reading what people are saying about her posts. And I get it, everyone does that, but this is in a moment where she's grieving this horrific loss. Here's another caption from another TikTok. "I'll never forget her last time speaking to me. She came into my room when I was in bed watching a show, and she told me good night in a deep voice, acting silly. I should have hugged her." Now, going on social media, I mean, people do it. We all do it. Maybe not all of us, but like I do for sure. And everyone has a different approach to social media, right? Some, if you're a teenager, it's just everyone's doing it. Some people do it to try to make money. Some people do it because they're very opinionated. Some people may do it for to try to get their feelings out there and get something back from the social media community. So all of this brings us to the first question in our investigation. And it's all about the defendant and social media. After the murder, why would Sarah Patrick go on social media?
I feel like she went on social media because that's what everybody does. It seems like that's the way of the world now. It's social media. A lot of people don't even have friends in real life. It's just social media. You done taking
What's her
a shower?
purpose here? What's going on? Here to help answer that question is retired police detective, Dr. Mike McCutcheon. He's also a crime scene forensics instructor at Forensic Education. And Dr. Janie Lacey, psychotherapist and CEO of Life Counseling Solutions. Dr. Janie Lacey, I'll begin with you, right? There's a lot going on here, and there's two ways to look at it, right? We can look at this like she had nothing to do with the murders of her parents, or she's responsible, like prosecutors say she is, for the murders of her parents. From those two different perspectives, how do you see this question of why she would go on social media?
Just taking a temperature read here. Yeah, the little June bug's with me right now. He's done taking a shower. But just, you miss Maybelline? I do too. I hate when he drops that on me. Maybelline's my little dog that died almost a year ago. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, just taking the temperature of the room. What are you guys feeling about this case? Are you thinking that she's guilty or not guilty, or you're not sure yet? I'm in the solid, I'm not sure yet.
Well, I agree with you, Vinny. From my perspective, several possible explanations for her extensive social media activity, especially following her parents' death, right? But I would see actually three of, I would say, primary motivations that could really be at play here, right? One, you mentioned first, if she truly is innocent, as she claims, this could represent a genuine grief and a desperate need for support and validation during her trauma, because we do know that teenagers and young adults can often use social media as their primary need for emotional expression. But then we also know that there are some people who commit crimes. They experience this psychological thrill, if you want to call it that, from fooling others and inserting themselves into investigation. And by reaching out, in this case, to true crime creators and posting emotional videos, she may have been seeking attention and control over the narrative, would be my second. And then lastly, I would say that, potentially,
I think we're going to start seeing cases handled differently because social media isn't just what it used to be. Because remember when social media first came out and people started dating on social media, and there was such a stigma like, oh, you met him on social media, is that safe? And now it's just like the natural way to do it. So I feel like social media has become the natural way to communicate with people. It's no longer as natural to communicate with people face to face. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that's what's happening.
this could be an attempt at creating alibi through public displays of grief by establishing herself as this grieving daughter online, and she may have believed this would deflect suspicion. So the fact that this specifically was told TikTokers could provide intel, but nothing would.
Weird that she went out and was like, "This is going to be an amazing case." Although, I mean, maybe she was trying to get the case solved. That would be like a way to reach out. Maybe not using those words, but we have to remember too, she's a young girl. Who were you when you were? How old is she? 17. Who were you when you were 17? I surely am not the person I am today, and I didn't have the words and the thought process that I have today. So, I mean, Kim says, definitely need more evidence than her pictures on TikTok and her reaching out to true crime content creators. Yeah, I want to see the mountain. I want to see the mountain too. Take me up to the mountain. Take me up the mountain, prosecutors. I want to see it. Because if this is another Delphi case, I'm going to lose my shit. Because Delphi was the one that made me realize you can't just be like, oh, they got someone arrested, case solved. Like, you know, the prosecutors aren't, always right. So.
But nothing that would break the case, I believe, is what was said. Suggest a calculated approach to managing this information. So that's my thoughts, Vinny.
Okay. Dr. Mike McCutcheon, I want to put another twist into this. So she's posting on social media, but Cody Thomas spoke to a TikToker who has a feed or a show called Allegedly Reportedly. A true crime TikToker is contacted by Sarah Patrick. Take a listen.
I had not heard of this case until Sarah Grace messaged me on June 3rd, asking me to cover the Brock case. She went on to explain it was the unsolved case of her parents' murder, her mother, Kristen, and stepfather, James, and it needed a light shined on it. I told her I would certainly look into it. I didn't have much of a reaction yet because I get requests like that all the time. So nothing suspicious. I just felt bad for her and I was very nice to her, which looking back on it is just very strange. But then I told her if she wanted any specific photos included, she could email those to me. So at that point, she emailed me photos and her version of what happened that night. Now, once I read that, there were a few things that I thought a little bit about, but then I said, no, have compassion. She just lost her parents. This is a child. But when I read that email to my husband, he, not that he's not compassionate, but he immediately said she did it. And he had his reasons. And I was like, oh my gosh, but she just lost her parents. How could you think that? Turns out his reasons I should have seen in the beginning.
Acting like the case is closed, that it's been solved, that she's in prison. It's quite outrageous. It's quite outrageous. Karen Reed, well, her trial's over. She was acquitted, I believe, and there's something else going on. I think there's a lawsuit she filed. So Karen's out and free and she's filing her lawsuits. I never got into the Karen Reed trial for some reason.
Hindsight is something different. Her talking about, you'll get a lot of views if you cover this story. That was very strange. I should have thought more about that.
I'm getting irritated by her because she's framing it. Well, I guess we all do that. We all frame it under the context of our beliefs, but she's acting like she's been convicted.
And then in her email to me, which I haven't talked about publicly yet, but I will tell you, she told me she did not hear anything that night. Now, I am hearing other versions of that story that she told other people, but I will say that was one of the things my husband picked up on. How would you not have heard anything?
All right, Dr. Mike McCutcheon.
Thank God for her
a lot
husband.
to go through here. What are your thoughts about her posting and then reaching out to a true crime TikToker here?
It depends on what side you're looking at. Dr. Lacey just had mentioned whether you think that she's innocent or guilty. This is nothing new. It's just a different medium. Scott Peterson went on national news and said, I need help finding my wife, Lacey. And he was
I get what you're saying. You're bringing up the Karen Reed because they set her up like they could be setting this person up. I gotcha.
Of her murder. Going all the way back to 1983, when Diane Downs did the same thing and over. There was Mark Castellanos, I think was his name, went on a daytime talk show and talked about looking for his wife that he had killed. It's nothing new. Unfortunately, it's a new media to reach. And it is.
What is their motive? Have they come up with the motive of why she did this? Are they even saying what the motive is? Let's move forward.
Had their disagreements, but they had been divorced for so long that they got along quite well, and they were cooperative. And Sarah would go visit him at times. They had their disagreements, just like any teenage daughter would have with a mother. But Sarah was a good kid. I mean, she really was.
That's Sarah Patrick's grandfather who spoke with Cody Thomas and had nothing but really nice things to say about his granddaughter. It was his daughter who was shot and killed. So there he is and supporting his granddaughter. She called him just before Cody did the interview. So has continued that contact with her. Now, months before her arrest, Sarah Patrick delivered a tearful eulogy at the funeral of her mother and stepfather. The video was posted on Facebook by family relative Kristen Dowda.
I just wanted to say goodbye to my mom and Jamie since we never got the chance to. I was so used to you guys always being here to the point that I never once thought to imagine y'all not being here. And if they have a single clue how much I needed y'all until now, although there was nothing we could do to bring them back, we still have control over how we treat people with us today. I love you guys, and so do they. I'm sorry.
And that was the end. You think about where this ended up, right? She didn't get arrested right away. This was a pretty long investigation. And so she's there and she's delivering the eulogy, and now she's been charged with the murders. Brings us to the next question in our investigation. What does Sarah Patrick's eulogy reveal here? What can we take away from that? Still here to help us with our investigation is Dr. Mike McCutcheon, and joining us, trial attorney, former police.
They really go into the motive. I mean, they just talked briefly about the family. Let's see if we can move forward and see what the prosecutors are saying.
2025, her 5-year-old half-sister found her mother, Kristen Brock, and stepfather, James Brock, shot dead in their Carrollton, Georgia home. Sarah called 911.
This is a pretty new case, so I'm annoyed that I can't find what I'm looking for.
But the tears unspooled across social media soon drew suspicion. Prosecutors now say a mountain of physical and digital evidence, including her haunting funeral eulogy and strategic TikTok outreach, paints a darker picture. In the weeks after the tragedy, she messaged true crime influencers, insisting the case would be, quote, a really big hit. With no motive yet established, law enforcement remains tight-lipped as they prepare to try her as an adult, charged with 2 counts of murder and aggravated assault. A twist that turned a grieving daughter into a suspect and the community's sorrow into suspicion.
So Sarah Patrick, I mean, this was a family. It was a blended family. Her parents were split, but each of them had married, and they seemed to get along pretty well. And there's brothers, there's sisters, there's stepbrothers and stepsisters. I mean, this is a family, and it seems like everything is pretty normal, right? There's not outrageous behavior that's alleged anywhere along any of this. Like, it seems pretty normal. Now, Cody Thomas went and spoke with Sarah's grandfather, who is also the father of Sarah's mother, right? So he's the grandfather on the maternal side. And it's interesting when you talk to him about Sarah, because it's his daughter whose life was taken, and it's his granddaughter who's accused. So what he thinks about the situation is pretty insightful, potentially insightful, about the family dynamics. Take a listen.
What are the feelings? What are the emotions? And I understand that you're standing by her side. You believe she's innocent.
Oh, I mean, I'm just in total shock. I mean, because she, first of all, the length of time that's passed and the fact that they arrested her without any evidence that I know of, everything seems circumstantial. And I think they were just desperate to arrest someone and to try, because the case was open for months. A lot of investigation. I know they tried hard to find the murder weapon. They tried hard to find who was involved. They investigated a lot of people. And for them to charge Sarah without, and I'll say this, the investigator told me the day they issued the warrant, when I asked him, I said, well, what proof why did you pick on Sarah? He said, well, she's the only one who could have done it. And that's a quote. But and that's, to me, that's not enough proof to throw a 17-year-old girl in jail.
It's not enough proof at all.
Take a 100-pound girl and you hand her a 9mm pistol and you ask her to fire her.
Did they check her fingers and her body and all of that?
Who doesn't have a lot of, I don't know if Sarah had ever shot a gun before. She was here, and whenever we shot guns, they were rifles. I never saw her shoot a pistol. But I just can't imagine, the accuracy that gun had in her hands. I don't think it could happen.
So Grandpa's not holding back, right? I mean, he's telling you exactly his thoughts on all of this. Extremely skeptical. But there's other family members who are speaking. That brings us to the next question in our investigation. What is Sarah Patrick's family saying about the murder charges? We heard from Grandpa.
There's Grandpa. And before we hear from the ones that want to, that believe she's guilty, let's pop over and see what her dad is saying about it all.
A mountain of evidence. That folder was pretty thin.
That is the father of the girl accused of shooting and killing her mom and stepdad as they slept. In his first interview, Sarah Grace Patrick's dad says law enforcement has the wrong person. What he says happened with investigators during a 4-hour interrogation with his daughter right before she was arrested.
At the end of it, they started throwing pictures of her parents at us, her stepdad and her mom, deceased with gunshot wounds.
We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. I just spoke to the biological father of Sarah Grace Patrick. This is his first interview since her arrest and since she's been accused of killing her mom and stepdad. Daniel Patrick says his daughter lived with him in the months after her mom and stepdad were murdered inside their home in Carrollton, Georgia. Daniel used to be married to Kristen Brock. He says they divorced in 2019, and then she went on to marry James Brock, who became Sarah Grace Patrick's stepfather. On February 20th of this year, the Brocks were found dead inside their home. Their stepdaughter, Sarah Grace Patrick, called 911. She said that her 5-year-old half-sister found the Brocks dead in their bed and then alerted Sarah Grace, who called the authorities. For the days, weeks, and months after the murders, Sarah Grace Patrick was very public on TikTok. She mourned the loss of her mom and stepdad, and she also reached out to content creators to have them cover the story.
Y'all, this is Sarah Grace, and she messaged me back on June 3rd and just said, search up Brock case.
She also spoke at her mom and stepdad's funeral.
Never take a hug or anyone or anything for granted, and love with all they have in you like they did. And lastly, by not taking people for granted, I want to thank my family, also known as my cattle fam, my grandparents, my siblings, Judy, Donnie, Jaden, JoJo, Trent, Tristan, Ashley, and Jesse for helping me get through my worst nightmare. And last but not least, I want to thank Tasha, Bree, Nate, Layton, Kimberly Hayes, Kim Bowling, Katie, and most of all, my father, Angie, and Ben for making such a big difference. Jamie and Mama would have thanked y'all too. I love you guys, and so do I. And so do they. I'm sorry.
Law enforcement and James Brock's family have told us that they found that speech to be scripted and inauthentic. And they also found...
Let's go forward and find the part about the dad.
First of all, and it really just, it broke my heart. And I was just scared for my daughter, not knowing what was going to happen next.
Law enforcement had said that you had to take her to, I guess they had called, and then you brought her to the police station. I mean, what was that whole process like for you, and how it all went down?
So the whole process was the day before they brought us in for a witness impact statement is what they were saying. And they were supposed to give property back. When we went in there to allow my daughter to talk, they interrogated her, and we were there for maybe 4 hours or so. And my daughter told them everything that they wanted to know multiple times. At the end of it, they started throwing pictures of her parents at us, her stepdad and her mom, deceased with gunshot wounds. And we stopped. As a father, she was considered a minor at the time. So I stopped the interview and told them that we were not going to talk no more. And they let us go. I asked them if they were arresting her, and they said no. And about 2 hours later, I guess it was, I received a call from them saying that I have to turn her in by 10 o'clock in the morning, or else they would send out the U.S. Marshals. So I talked to my daughter. She was actually headed back to Alabama to be with one of her friends. And I talked to her, and the lady that lives with me that I'm renting from, she went straight to Alabama and picked my daughter up, and we spent the night together. And then 10 o'clock in the morning, we complied. We didn't turn her in, but we came in and we did what they asked.
Before we get back to this story, we need to take a break and bring you a law and crime legal alert. If you received a Depo-Provera birth control...
If they say they have a mountain of evidence, that folder was pretty thin. That's all I will say. So they showed us a little bit of stuff, but I without attorneys around, I don't really want to speak of that evidence. So, but the evidence that they did show us did not add up at all.
Going back to, and I know...
So the dad is saying that the mountain of evidence that they have, it's very thin. He doesn't really believe it. Let's pop back over here and see what the people who think she's guilty are saying.
Let's get some more insight. Here to help us answer that question, psychotherapist, CEO of Life Counseling Solutions, Dr. Jane.
Wait a minute.
about this. And what we have now, these circumstantial, did she cry? She said she was sorry. I can't tell you the number of times that I saw grieving or being at eulogies of grieving parents.
Very typical for women, especially when they show emotions, you apologize. It's a woman's thing. We're told to say, if we want to break into a conversation, don't we all, a lot of people say, I'm sorry to interrupt, or sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Or when you show emotions, I do it. When I show emotions, I'm like, sorry, I don't mean to cry, sorry. So I don't know about saying sorry.
And they sometimes were laughing. So I don't think we should use this as a metric to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So I think there's a lot that the law enforcement is withholding. I don't know why they're not giving their theory, but there's not an alternate theory either. So the grandfather is as good as anyone else so far in this case, his opinion.
Absolutely. Now, Sarah Patrick's father, right? Daniel Patrick spoke with Newsweek about the charges, and he responded to the backlash that she's getting on social media. Let's take a listen.
I know 100% in my heart that Sarah's innocent. She's a typical 17-year-old that, lived like a teenager, and she would never do this. As a father, this has been one of the most hurtful things in my life. I'm sorry, but it's just hard,
Okay.
We're going to put a pin in that one and then pop it over to here, because it is strange that the grandfather and the father are sticking up for her, but at her hearing, nobody was there.
It was Thanksgiving of 1998 when Norma Patton said goodbye to her daughter, Melissa, on the phone and told her that
That's not the right one. Hold on a second. Is it the right one?
she loved her. That would be the last conversation they would ever have. Melissa went missing, and for years, it remained a mystery. But in reality, part of the mystery was solved very quickly when some of her remains were recovered chopped up in black of where Melissa's remains were found. And the phrase, I'm sorry, streets and Sundays are reserved. Quiet town of Carrollton, Georgia, a place where steeples rise above oak-lined streets and Sundays are reserved for church and sweet tea.
Sorry, he must be covering both these cases in this this video.
Community was shattered by a nightmare they never saw coming. On the morning of February 20th, 2025, Kristen and James Brock were found shot to death in their bed, their 6-year-old daughter trembling as she discovered the gruesome scene. Their 17-year-old daughter, Sarah Patrick, called 911 in what seemed like a panic. Days later, she stood in front of their congregation, delivering a tearful.
We're going to go forward.
Freckle-faced teenager. That's what I see when I look at that picture. But that's a mugshot. She's accused of this horrific crime. Shooting and killing her mother and stepfather while they slept inside their home, and then allowing the carnage to be displayed.
Hi, LK. Hi, everyone coming in. Today, we're talking about this new case, this Sarah Grace Patrick case, and comparing it to Gypsy Rose Blanchard and the trauma she's inflicting on teens, thinking that this is possibly okay. Although with this Sarah Patrick case, I'm just not sure if she did it yet.
Discovered by her little sister. It's cold.
The police are saying she did it and they have a mountain of evidence, but they haven't even released what the motive is. They haven't even given us the motive yet, but they have a mountain of evidence and they've already got the trial date set. It's kind of like spinning. My head is spinning from it all.
It is cold. So that's one image of Sarah Patrick. I want you to take a look at another one on social media where she seems to have a different persona, right? before this disaster, before this tragedy, before this double murder, she would glam it up a little bit. Then when the murder happened, she was going on social media and talking about it. And then in a strange fact associated with all of this, she was contacting true crime podcasters and pitching the story.
That's where I think the Gypsy Rose Blanchard, even if she didn't do this, the Gypsy Rose Blanchard media narrative that, you can have trauma happen in your life and become a social media influencer. And I don't think young kids have the ability to realize how, I guess, inappropriate it all is, because it's so normalized in today's society.
Story of the murder of her mother and stepfather. Now, at that point, no one had been arrested because it took months for this arrest. And everyone looked at it as kind of strange, right? It's kind of strange. And you can look at it being not strange that, my parents are murdered and no one's been arrested. I got to do something about it. And, I'll contact, because I've seen all these podcasts, they start talking about it, and all of a sudden someone gets arrested. Well, the one who got arrested was...
Yeah, I mean, how many times have people thought that reaching out to armchair detectives would help? I mean, look at us with our missing and murdered Indigenous women. I had someone reach out to me on TikTok. They had a missing loved one. Could you help us find her? And we found her. We found her. So it's not abnormal to want to reach out to us to get us out, to get the word out for you. So it's not so weird to me.
Her. So today, for the first time, I think we really got a snapshot into her life and her family, and it was an emotional day inside of the courtroom. Extremely emotional. This was
I am very curious where you guys are going to stand on this, like how you're feeling after we watch this, because I think this is probably one that we will follow, because I'm a little outraged by it. The fact that they have, I feel like they've got her like locked away, lock key, and okay, case solved. She did it. I mean, maybe she did do it, but we don't know. We haven't even seen any evidence, and they haven't even released a motive.
Bond hearing. Her and her attorneys trying to get her released.
Little things that, she gave a weird eulogy and she reached out to TikTok creators.
Before the trial, trying to get her out of jail. And it was really broken down into two opposing factions. It's one family, but there's part of the family that's more aligned with her stepfather, and then there's a part of the family that's more aligned with her. So I want to begin by taking a listen first to the stepfather's sister, who spoke today and spoke about Sarah Patrick and spoke about what happened to this family and spoke about the danger.
I do like that he's now calling her the stepfather's sister, because in the very beginning they were like, the aunt's speaking out against her, and that sounds so much worse than the stepfather's sister.
That she believes would exist if this teenaged accused killer would get out on bond. Take a listen.
I not only lost my brother, but also my sister-in-law in the most horrific way imaginable. Every night I lay awake, unable to sleep, haunted by the thought.
By the way, she's the one that's married to the police officer in the next county.
Of what my brother Jamie and Kristen might have experienced in those final moments. With the possibility that they were awake when the defendant entered their room with a gun. And I imagine their terror in their final breath. The defendant is charged with the brutal murders of my brother, Jamie, and my sister-in-law while they were lying in their bed. Shot multiple times, including both shot in the head. My 5-year-old niece was then woke up to find their parents lifeless. The trauma this innocent child will carry for the rest of her life is unfathomable. And what makes this even more heartbreaking is that her sister loved the defendant. She looked up to her, and for reasons I will never understand, the defendant caused such imaginable pain. And I'm so thankful that his life was spared. With all of this in mind, I am deeply concerned about safety should the defendant be released on bond. I ask you, please consider the following factors when deciding whether to grant a bond. My first concern is flight risk. The defendant has financial resources provided by the immediate family, which would enable her to
a flight risk, a teenager, okay.
Flee. Her family maintains that she is innocent, and given her manipulative behavior, I believe she may attempt to flee. Second concern is witness intimidation. The defendant has shown a pattern of intimidation towards family members and others with knowledge of the crime. I fear that if she's released, she will continue this behavior to silence anyone who could testify against her. My third concern is evidence. The brutality of these murders is not in dispute. My family and I have seen the death certificates, and although we are not aware of exactly how many shots were fired, we do know that there were multiple gunshots to both Jamie and Kristen.
I don't know. She's annoying me, but I don't know if she did it or she didn't do it yet. And I guess that's what's annoying me even more. I feel annoyed because I don't have any, they haven't given us anything. Just her sitting there saying she did it. There's no evidence. There is literally no evidence. Thank you, LK, for your support. Thank you for all these interesting cases. You are so welcome. And thank you for the support. It's really, really appreciated. They said that because she was staying with someone she was staying with her dad in the other state. I mean, but they knew where she was, and she's a teenager. And where's she going to go, really? Flight risk.
Personal safety. If the defendant can kill her own parents in such a violent manner, I fear for my own safety and the safety of my family and friends. The possibility.
And I guess if you're accused of murder, then you do have to have a high bond or no bond. I mean, the public does need to be protected.
That she could harm us is terrifying, and I urge you to consider this in your decision.
If they have no proof, like what proof have they? Well, I don't know. I want to see the proof. Am I the only one that's outraged because we haven't seen anything? No motive, no evidence, nothing.
Just
that a door was open. She had a weird eulogy. She went on TikTok and she contacted some people to try to help find the people who murdered her family. That's what we got so far, you guys.
Will be served for Jamie and Kristen, and their bond will be denied for the defendant, as she has shown that she is capable of extreme violence and manipulation.
And we've got on the other side that the father was abusive, has been arrested for these things, and the mother was in both of them for substances. That this person is married to a police officer in the next town, and this is a small town in Georgia, and I don't care. It's a good old boy network in those states. I came from one from Michigan. I lived in a small town. I was a social worker. It's just a good old boy network. I'm positive of it.
One of the victim's sisters, that's Kim Bowling. That emotion is real and palpable. And I think it brings home what this case is about. And that point that she made, I think, is kind of significant, right? If she could walk in and do this to her mother and stepfather, well, who else is potentially in the line of fire? Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, trial attorney, former police lieutenant Rick King, Ann Bremner, trial attorney, fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers, and criminal defense attorney, former district attorney
Good.
Matthew Mangino. Great to see you.
Sorry, he's got a trial attorney in there, so that will be good. Sorry, I need to slow this down a little bit.
Everyone tonight. Rick, I look at that picture. She doesn't look like a killer, but when you talk about what happened to her mother, what happened to her stepfather, do you think it's valid to make the argument that, hey, if someone could do this to her own parents, then who else is in the line of fire here? Was she a potential danger to society?
So I'm going to go back to what you said at the very beginning of the broadcast, which was you called her a freckle-faced teenager. When I see her as a 17-year-old freckle-faced teenager. And we live in a country where we decided that we're going to give people the presumption of innocence. And at the end of the day, for me, when I look at her as a 17-year-old freckle-faced teenager who is given the presumption of innocence, I say that she's a teenager with no record. And on that, I'm leaning in favor of bond because I think that there are, and when we look at it,
exactly. She has had no record. She's 17 years old. I don't know. There's no boyfriend. Is anyone else outraged?
The relative spoke about was the flight risk, the intimidation factor to her sister, and those issues are significant. But I think those all can be remedied with something from the government: ankle monitor, house arrest, things like that we can guarantee where she's supposed to be. And so for me, I would err on the side of her constitutional right to have the ability to make a bond.
And Bremner, how dangerous do you think this teenager is potentially at this point? And Rick's right, presumed innocent, but locked up.
Yeah, I think, and I disagree with my good friend, Rick King. It's great to see you, Rick, again. I think, I look at her like a cold-blooded killer. They say they have a mountain of forensic and also, I think, digital evidence against her.
They say it, but where is it?
A mountain. We heard that in O.J. Simpson, but of course, when you have digital and other forensic evidence, it's a little bit different in this day and age. Yeah, she's a cold-blooded killer. She's somebody who could kill a witness. We don't even know. We look at likelihood to flee. And how dangerous is she to the community? That's all we look at right now. And there's probable cause to believe she committed the crime. So I would err on the other side, which would be public safety, and keep her in.
Now, what I want to play for you, Matthew, this is Kelly Brown will be reading a letter from the stepfather's 12-year-old son from a prior relationship, right? So half brother of the defendant in this case, 12 years old. She's going to read the letter that he wrote. Let's take a listen.
I wanted to talk today because my dad and stepmom was shot and killed. I miss him every day.
Okay, so it's not a full brother. This is the half brother. It's just a step brother.
My dad was my hero.
I mean, not even a half brother. It's just a step brother.
And the person I looked up to the most. We did everything together. He helped me with school, and he always made me laugh, and we joked around a lot. Since he died, everything has changed. I feel sad and confused. It's hard to sleep. It's hard to focus. And it's even hard to smile sometimes. I still wait to hear his voice or see him walk through the door, but I know that will never happen again. What makes me more sad is I trusted Sarah and I loved her like a sister. Why would she do this to me? And why would she hurt everyone like this?
Okay, well, the family obviously thinks she did it.
A driver's license, really a flight risk? These bodies were discovered in February. She wasn't arrested until July 8th. She could have fled then. Is she a danger? Well, certainly the family is afraid of her because the crimes that she's accused of are diabolical. Shooting somebody to death, two people, your mother, your stepfather, while they're
Crimes that you're accused of, but she's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty.
lying in bed. But again, those crimes haven't been proven beyond a reasonable doubt with regard to the accused in this case. And I think that the courts will have to take a look at this again in the future, because I'm sure this issue is going to be raised so that she can participate effectively in her.
It's going to be an interesting case, LK, and I hope I'm really wrong. I hope that they're right, that she did it. They got their person, and case closed. But I just don't. Our system is very flawed, and they said it couldn't be anybody else but her. Well, how do they know that? How do they know it couldn't? Show us. But I guess maybe they have to wait to show us the evidence. Yeah, I don't know.
Defense, and that's difficult to do while you're isolated in adult prison when you're 17 years old.
Let's take a listen to Tristan Brock, who is the stepfather's son. And this was powerful as well, and addressed some of the issues that Matthew was talking about.
Your Honor, it feels like I'm living a nightmare. I'm depressed. I struggle to sleep. I can't even walk through my own living room without seeing his urn and be reminded of everything all over again. I miss my father deeply. I wish I could see him again. I wish he could have met his grandson. And above all, I wish I could just hear his voice one more time. But instead now, what I have is an urn that represents memories we made and the countless memories that will never be. I believe the defendant poses a serious flight risk. Her family has significant financial resources and a wide support network, both of which could easily be used to help her evade law enforcement if she were released. These are not.
His daughter, Wendy Adelson, has testified for prosecutors.
She didn't just show up on Sunday. She came during the week as well, asked questions, served, invited others. Patrick.
None of them are family members. None of them. You've got a pastor of a church. He's been some of the big pieces of evidence that they have. Sometimes you get a preview of the alleged motive. We really didn't. Get that in this bond hearing. So there were people there to support Sarah Patrick who believe she should get out on bond, but surprisingly, none of them are family members. None of them. You've got a pastor of a church she's been a member of for a year. The woman who took her in after the murders, her friend and her friend's mom. Take a listen.
My name is Ben Bonner, and I serve as lead pastor at Catalyst Church in Carrollton, Georgia. I'm writing on behalf of Sarah Grace Patrick, a young woman who's been a part of our church family for about a year now. Sarah Grace first came to Catalyst around a year ago. From the beginning, she was eager to grow in her faith and get involved. She made a personal decision to be baptized not long after attending, and has stayed consistently connected to the church ever since. She didn't just show up on Sunday. She came during the week as well, asked questions, served.
Sorry, I've been trying to mute my mic because of the bird, and I just realized it was probably muted. What I said was that none of the family members came, but could it have possibly been that these people that live in where she lives, because all of her other family is like her dad that lives in another state, those and her grandpa, they live in a different state. So did these friends say, no, don't worry, don't come to this one because it's just a bond hearing. We'll go and we'll support her. And you come, like, I don't know, like that could have been something like that. And because it's going to cost a lot of money going back and forth. But of course, the other family's like, oh, she has the means and to abscond. So I don't know.
Invited others, including her boyfriend at the time, and clearly found a place where she felt at home. Throughout the past year, and even through the challenges of this year, she has continued to attend services regularly. She and her family often travel over an hour just to be with us. I've spoken and prayed with Sarah Grace many times throughout this season. Her commitment to staying grounded in her faith and connected to a healthy community has remained steady. She's even called from jail multiple times so I could pray with her. Her father has also become an active part of the church. He was baptized recently, and he still comes to services faithfully. It's a privilege to walk with their family during such a difficult time, and we love and care for them deeply. If it's possible and the court sees fit to grant Sarah Grace bond, we would gladly continue to walk alongside her as a church.
I met Sarah about 3 days after all this happened with her mom and dad.
And how did you come to meet her?
I was friends with her dad. We used to play cell phone games. He told me what happened. Told me that the kids didn't have any clothes. Since the house was closed off, they didn't have anything. So I've taken in a child or two in my time. So my heart broke for it, and I was like, please let me take her shopping. So I came and picked Sarah up and took her to get clothes, underwear, deodorant, your basics. Sarah actually ended up moving in with me. It was a better situation for her. I had an extra bedroom. She came to stay with me after everything happened with her mom. She used to lay in the bed. She would cry and sob, and I'd watch her grieve.
Did you have any disciplinary problems or any type of issues with Sarah while she was at your house?
Not even one, honestly. I've had some teenagers and one that gave me a hard time, and Sarah was a pleasure. She was easy.
At the time, Donald and Kristen were in the middle of a custody battle. When I first met Sarah, she was a little shy, very sweet, kind, and humble. She was cautious around new people, but soon she warmed up to me and once told me I had a motherly presence that made her feel safe. As our relationship grew, she began to open up to me about her past and experiences with Kristen and James. One thing she said that has always stayed with me was, no matter what they've done, I will always forgive them and love them, because deep down, I know that's not who they truly are. The statement showed the depth of Sarah's heart. She truly believes in forgiveness and has always extended the same grace to others.
Okay,
she once told me,
I just want to break in here and say that if she did do it, she's truly diabolical like Gypsy Rose Blanchard, if she did do it. Because she would be that good at making people, she's good at the young, innocent girl act if she did it.
The holding grudges isn't what God wants for us, and I've carried that wisdom with me ever since. While staying at our house, Sarah was full of life, happy, upbeat, and in many ways a typical teenager. But there were also signs of trauma she endured. She would often apologize for things she never had to. Like she would asking for food, taking a shower, or using the bathroom. It was heartbreaking. Despite that, she remained incredibly kind, respectful, and especially patient with my son, who is on the autism spectrum and is the same age as Sarah. She was fiercely protective of him and everyone she cared about. I respectfully ask that you consider granting Sarah Grace bond. She is not a threat to anyone. She is deeply loved and supported by my family, by me, and her own family. I truly believe she deserves a chance to be home, surrounded by those who care about her.
When you say friends, talk to me about what that looks like. Are you guys talking on the phone?
Via Snapchat sometimes. We would call, I'd check in on her. I was never allowed over at her house.
But she was allowed at your house?
Yes, ma'am, I'd go and get her.
Were you in contact with Sarah after the incident happened?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have any concerns about Sarah leaving or running?
Why was she never allowed at her house, but Sarah could go to her house? That's weird.
Or trying to get away anyway?
No.
Okay. Did she ask you to come pick her up and take her back to Alabama and hide her or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
And Bremner, no family members. I'm surprised. I mean, Cody Thomas went and spoke with her grandfather, who's the father of her mom, and he was very supportive of her, believed in her. That doesn't help you in court when your family doesn't speak up for you.
Yeah, not a one of them. I was just, thinking to myself on the likeliness of flight. You look at the severity of the crime. She's not going to stick, and her family's not in there saying we're going to do anything, take care of her, make sure she doesn't play, etc. And finally, these hearings. I've had hearings with testimony representing victims, representing defendants. Victims have a right to be heard at this stage, and this victim family has spoken with respect to their concerns about her flight risk and how dangerous she is to them and to the community. And I haven't heard anything from anyone, like you just said, from her own family, her loved ones standing up for her today.
Yeah, Matthew Mangino, if members of her family aren't going to stand up for her in a case like this, I think it sends a bit of a signal to the judge, doesn't it, if they're not going to speak in court on her behalf?
Well, it may. And in this situation, we have to focus on what this hearing is about. And this hearing is about bond. It's about bail. And bail is one of its primary reasons is to ensure that someone shows up in the future. Okay. Are they a flight risk? And of course, are they a danger to the community? Now, we heard from 3 witnesses here, people who are not family members, which to me, in a sense, even provides a little more legitimacy. You have a family member in there.
Oh, maybe in most cases, Matthew, but the victim is a member of the same family. That's the part, right? Like, so it would be much more powerful if the father of the victim said, yeah, let her out. She can stay in my house. But that didn't happen. That's not part of the equation here. And I think that would have been a much more powerful proposition of some form of a bail package for the judge.
Well, it may have supported that position with some greater emphasis. But here we have disinterested witnesses. Someone who took her in, a friend's mother, a pastor from her church. These are people who do not have a direct interest in this case or with regard to her personally. They know her and they spoke about her participation in church. They spoke about her being a good person. They spoke about her not ever saying she wanted to leave or take me someplace or I have to get out of here. So sometimes disinterested witness can be more powerful than a family member who's going to come in and say, hey, this is my granddaughter or this is my niece.
Yeah.
Please let her out. I always would favor a disinterested witness.
We only have about 20 seconds left, Rick, but there's almost like a message, an undertone that, hey, I don't want her living in my house from the family. Like she's not living with her family. No one from her family took her in. Maybe they're a little bit fearful.
And that might be so, Vinny, but here's the thing. So there's a reason why in all the other cases that you covered on Court TV, why you heard some of the evidence against the defendant. Because in these hearings, with these kind of charges, it is proof evident and presumption great. And that's why they show you the evidence so that you can know that there's something there, but there's no there. They didn't give it to us here. And for that reason, she's 17.
There's no evidence. And I'm sorry, but everybody assumes that families will take you in and be kind and be wonderful to you. But my biggest enemies, the people that almost took me out of this world, was my family. Not all families are kind and perfect and do what's right and just. And then it makes you look like a bad person because you've got bad family. But anyway, she could have done it. Maybe that's what's I don't know. But something's bothering me because they're not giving us anything.
And there are ways with which the government can fashion a system where we know she's going to show up and we can protect everybody else. She's not going anywhere.
She's definitely going to show up now because she's denied bond. But we've got more to get to. All right. Thanks for staying with us. When we come back, Cody Thomas returns to the scene where the daughter of the serial killer's body was found. Cody on the case. Up next.
Okay. So what do you guys think? Where are you guys at on this? Are you guys feeling like she did it, she didn't do it, or you're just not sure? I'm still not sure. I'm solid in the I don't know. I don't know because they've not given us anything. There's weirdness. Yeah, there's a lot of weirdness. There's this eulogy but people do grieve in different ways. I mean, is she autistic in a way? I mean, because she was just like firing off those names, thanking people yeah. And then I don't think it's weird that she went on TikTok because that's what kids do. They go on TikTok. And I don't think it's weird that she contacted the content creators because if she didn't do it and she believes that somebody came in and she murdered her family, of course she would want to know who did it. But putting it as like this would be a sweet case to cover or something, I'm paraphrasing. That's weird. Yeah. And it's weird that the family didn't take her in, but I mean, she wasn't living with her dad to start with. Were there reasons why she wasn't staying with her dad? I don't know. But I do know that if she did do it, I feel like it's directly tied back to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I do that. There are notable trends going on that, like what we talked about in the beginning, there are notable trends of patricide rising. We named off a number of the cases that have happened since the Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And I did ask if this type of thing was on the rise. And yes, indeed, it is on the rise. Notable trends in child youth homicide rates. A peer-reviewed study shows the overall child homicide rate per 100,000 rose from 2.2 in 2019 to 2.8 in 2020, a 27.7 increase, continuing on average annual increase of 4.3% since 2013. And that's when Gypsy Rose did it. So it's a steady climbing rise. I mean, and for me, if I were a parent, I would be terrified. I would be absolutely terrified, because your home is supposed to be your safe haven, and your family is supposed to be your safe haven too. But like I just said, it's not always the case. But not all family members, just because you don't get along with them, they don't want to unalive you. That's not it. And there's cases every few years where teens are unaliving their parents, and some instances whole families, and they're not infinite in number, but they are illustrating that teen parricide incidents are real and they're on the rise. And we should all be very worried about it. And we should be worried too about this Sarah Patrick case, because they're not giving us any evidence. So I'm going to have to keep on it just for that very fact, because I need to know, what is the evidence in this? What is the motive? Give it to me. Yeah, I don't think the family has the means to do what this other family is saying they have the means to do. And I don't know. I will look more into it, and we'll do more on it. Tomorrow we are working with, we're going back on the Kurt Cobain case, and we're working with the ladies with the Kurt Cobain Who Killed Kurt official. We're going to be going over the ballistic evidence. They hired their own ballistic person to go over the evidence, and they're saying that it would be impossible for Kurt to fire the gun in the position that he fired it in, as well as with the massive amount of smack that he took. We got to use weird words on YouTube. That he took, and not only did he would have had to take multiple needles, done it more than once, but each needle he took and he capped it off and put it in his kit neatly, and took a knife and stuck his written X note up there, got down on the floor with that gun, or that pew pew, and yeah. So they're saying it's impossible. I think it's impossible too, but we're going to bring that to you. We also need to go over the Emmanuel Harrell case. The parents have been arrested. He hasn't been found yet, but we are going to get into that case. I'm just kind of like, that one I've got to gear myself up for, because, whenever I think that a child has suffered prolonged abuse, it's very hard for me to talk about it. So I'm just trying to gear myself up for it, and also kind of trying to see if they actually find them. So yes, the Emmanuel case, we have to do that. I might pop on tomorrow morning and do that case, and then we'll do the Kurt Cobain one is scheduled for 9:30 Eastern time, because the women are on Pacific Standard Time. So I'll pop on here in the morning and cover that case for you guys, and maybe do a few other cases that I want to hit on too. So I'm going to try to do more lives and more videos for you because I'm feeling pretty good. So I figure why not while I feel good, and then maybe even get some banked for when I don't feel good. Okay, guys, that's what I have for today. What do you guys think about this case? And whatever you think is fine, because we're free thinkers here. If you think she did it, tell me why you think she did it. If you don't think she did it, tell me why you don't think she did it. And if you're just unsure like me, that's okay too. It's okay too, because we're figuring it out. I mean, yeah, I just don't want to jump the gun anymore on cases because everybody is supposedly presumed innocent. But people are getting a little crazy about things too, like Brian Koberger. I watched another video about how, he's been railroaded and he didn't do it, and it's a complete cover-up. And while I do believe like there probably was cover-ups, because I think there's probably cover-ups in every case, because there's probably mistakes in every case that they don't want to get out. So, they do a little cover-up. But if they figure out that they did it, but Brian did it. I believe 100% Brian did it. And so I've gotten to the point where it just makes me giggle and laugh at, like, that's what you're going to spend your time talking about. Well, okay. We all got our interests. Some people giggle and laugh at me for spending my time talking about the Watts case so much. So we all do what we do, don't we? But sometimes I just wonder if it's productive. At least talking about the Watts case, I feel like we're examining a true crime case and the right and wrong and why somebody would do something and the potential did the mistress do it. But with Brian Koberger, who do you think did it? If he didn't do it, if the weirdo with the bushy eyebrows that admitted to it, that has a mountain of evidence, if he didn't do it, who do they think did it? I can't even watch a video long enough to figure out who they think did it. So anyway, that's all I have for today. What do you guys think too about Gypsy Rose? Do you think she's bad business? Do you think that her vibes are wearing off on the teens of society? I think definitely she is. I'm not mad at the crash out that's happening with Gypsy Rose. I've considered talking about because she mentioned that with the billboard, she wanted to immediately go to unaliving herself, but then she immediately went on that Austin vacation, and she's all better now. She don't want to do that anymore. I'm sorry, but I don't believe for a second that you went down that deep and then shot straight back up to the top of the mountain that fast. Because that's not how it works when you want to unalive yourself, sister. So I thought about talking about her again. I've been talking about her, but mainly in our blogs and over in our community section. But I've wanted to talk about this whole fare thee well, her fare thee well and cutting her hair. And I think she's spinning out and it's concerning, but I have wanted to talk about her a little bit. But I don't know if you guys are sick of talking about her in that way. Okay, thank you so much for your support, your super sticker. It means a lot to me. I'm a small channel, and the extra money that I make for YouTube goes towards to whether I eat or not, or pay a light bill. It's I'm living month to month, and you guys have helped me out so tremendously, and just by showing up. And then when you throw that little added support, just know that it means a lot to me, and I really do appreciate it. And I appreciate those that travel along with me while they're out there door dashing, and or just, you know, just supporting me and listening to me, because I do like to talk true crime and, you know, spirituality and the wonders of the world. So I do have this vision where we're going to create this community of free thinkers, where it's okay to be just who you are, as long as you're not hurting somebody else. And we can be in a space where, like, debating is good. It's being presented new ways of thinking. It's healthy. It's good. It's bad to be stuck in an algorithm where everybody thinks the same. Trust me, it's gotten us to the world where it is now, because we all got stuck in our algorithms where we thought the whole world thought as we did. And then when we step out there, we're like, what? You're not like me? Then you're evil. No, they just think differently, and it's okay. It's okay. So, okay, guys, even I've had to retrain myself, because I've had to retrain myself, because I got to a space where I was like, ew, I don't like this, having to think exactly like the people that I feel like I affiliate with. I mean, we should all be able to have different opinions and thoughts, and just agree on the big things, like we shouldn't be harming one another, and don't harm the children and the animals, and, you know, that kind of stuff. But, you know, if you believe Kurt Cobain unalived himself and I don't, it shouldn't be World War III. It shouldn't. If you talk about things in the Watts case that I don't talk about, it shouldn't matter. It should be okay. And it is. Here it is. Here it absolutely is. So, you guys, I love you so much. Thank you for being here. Shout out to everybody in the Neither world listening that haven't joined in the chat. Today we're coming to you on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. A huge thank you to our supporter over on Wild. They are the deodorant company that we have been using, and I really do love. They give you those cute little cases. You can personalize them. It's not just for women. Men can use it too, because I sweat like a man. I have even been tested where I have higher testosterone. Women that have hormonal issues often do. And I sweat, and this absolutely helps. And you can get it in different scents: male, feminine, and unscented. So unisex. And so, yeah. So thank you to Wild Deodorant for supporting us. And thank you to all of you that decide to give it a try. If you try it and you like it, and even if you don't like it, let me know. If you try it, let me know. How about that? So, okay, guys, I'm out of here. If nobody's told you this today, and even if they have, I'm still going to tell you guys this. I love you guys so, so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Miss my cue, but I had you for that day. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep into you.
Be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps me go out into the algorithm party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help me out.
And it feels fine, feels fine. Baby, I'm dancing with you tonight. chasing and falling and hoping for some time with you.